Yeah.
Hello, thanks for coming into We Called It. We have a fantastic show for you today. We're going to be digging into Washington and why we don't understand the line in that game, as well as we're going to butt heads on New England versus Indianapolis. Can't wait. Another game where we're going at each other. As a reminder, I'm Philip Call, actuary and contributor at the Action Network, joined, as always, with Connor Lucas, a former college football receiver. How are you, Connor?
Next time, we're going to change my intro because Otterbein University wide receiver. I don't know why you disrespect the Division III, middle of the road OAC Otterbein University Cardinals. Okay, Mellon Union just made it to the Final Four again.
I don't want to. And we'll hang this up. I got this from the Otterbein Actuarial Club. It is Towers Hall. Yeah.
I've got a picture of me showing a first down. You want me to go get that?
No, I caught a first pass. See, my thing's going to be up on the wall behind me, though, so we'll have that. Give some more context.
I'll do it in that room, and then you can see it.
Go ahead. Absolutely.
Fine.
Give us something to look at besides that Christmas tree, which you missed the whole branch on with your lights.
Yeah, we got this. This was given to us.
Were the lights on it when it was given to you, or did you do that too?
I picked it out of the trash, Phil.
I see why it was thrown away.
Damn it, Phil.
All right.
Move on.
All right. I'm sorry. KC versus Chargers tonight. That's a big game. We're not going to cover it. Yeah, it already happened if you're listening. So great game. So happy we watched it. We're going to speed through the show tonight so that we can see as much as possible. So let's get to it. First thing we have is our listener question. Nate Schmidt came back, my coworker. He is one game away from the playoffs. He has to win this week, and he's playing the highest scoring / best team in the league. The team he's playing has Cooper Kupp and Jonathan Taylor. So I told him he lost, but do your best. Anyways.
Yeah, well, who knows? Cooper Kupp might have COVID by the weekend. They just added 9 more players.
The Rams?
25 players. Yeah, 25 players on their roster are on the COVID reserve list right now.
All right, so his tough decision is he has Josh Jacobs versus Cleveland, Myles Gaskin, who I think is out with COVID, not official yet, but I don't think he plays. Miles Sanders versus Washington, DJ Moore at Buffalo, and Van Jefferson versus Seattle. I think this one's pretty easy. You go with Josh Jacobs against Cleveland. Their COVID situation's terrible. They won't put up points on offense, so you get a good game script for him.
Good game script. Wait, he's got to choose one of 4?
Yeah.
Oh, Josh Jacobs all day long.
That's what I thought too. It's there's a lot of weird scoring rules. It's half PPR, but then it's like if you there's big play bonuses, so Van Jefferson gets some nice boosts. But I still think Josh Jacobs, raise your floor. He's gonna. I don't know if he has a good game, but he'll have the best performance, I think, of any of those guys.
So I needed Van Jefferson to win against someone else so I could get into the playoffs. And in the first half, he had 1 touch for 6 yards. He ended the game with 3 touches for 58 yards receiving, 7 yards rushing, and a touchdown. So if you want to go completely boom or bust, by all means, throw in Van Jefferson.
That could be money too, because no OBJ. I think you want Cooper Kupp in the lineup though to at least draw the defense away from him. But they're playing Seattle, and Seattle's a terrible pass defense.
I forgot OBJ was out. But
I'm still leaning Jacobs. I think
Jacobs has a higher floor. He just has a higher floor.
The total is 38.5 in that game. They're running the ball because they're the Raiders. They don't want to throw unless they have to. All right. Like I said, we're in a crunch for time. So let's subscribe, follow us, reach out to us with questions. You can hear our in-depth analysis. You see, we go through everything when we consider random football players for fantasy. First game, though, we're going to start off with, I mentioned previously, Washington football team. 10-point underdogs versus Philadelphia. I don't understand it.
This is wild.
Total's 44. They just lost to the Cowboys by a touchdown, but they had the ball and had the chance to tie up the game. I don't get it. Do you have any thoughts besides the fact that your mind's just blown by it?
The fact that the Eagles just won pretty easily, if I remember right, last week with Gardner Minshew.
And that 2 weeks ago, so they were they run by, yeah.
Jalen Hurts may or may not play. But either way, I don't understand this at all. The hottest take that I can think of is Washington came back down to earth and this is an overreaction. People are saying, well, it was a mirage. But Taylor Heineke didn't play all that terrible. Lost a fumble, which turned around and went the other way. But if you take that away, tie ball game. So, yeah, I don't understand this at all. When I saw that, I hit the Hulk smash button.
So I'm not going to lie. I put in the spreads, and I don't double-check them. I'm not going to lie. If you say something, I check it. But then I was looking at it, and I go, I had to have typed that in wrong. This line should be like 4.5.
Me too.
4.5, 5.5.
I thought for sure you typed it in wrong, and I was about to text you.
Yep.
I thought for sure it was wrong.
I don't understand how the Eagles are so well respected. I don't think.
Terry McLaurin may not play. He was in concussion protocol. Is he back? I don't know if he's back yet or not. He was in concussion protocol all week. But at the same time, I think they get McKissick back. Antonio Gibson's on his way up. Nah, he sucked last week versus Dallas.
Everyone's the Dallas defense is underrated now, and their offense is overrated.
They had a stretch where they were really bad, and then they're having a stretch where they're really good. The Darius Slay, he's got the number one corner in the league right now. PFF has him the highest rated corner in the NFL. Him and J.C. Jackson from New England. But Terry McLaurin's out. Who are you gonna put him on? Tommy Brown, Adam Humphries.
Oh, who was it? Was it Steve Sims who just straight up mossed the guy for a touchdown last week?
Yeah.
But I mean, you're not like they don't care if you guard him.
Yeah. So okay. I don't see Darius Slay being a factor if Terry McLaurin's not a factor. If not, you're going to run the ball and you're going to run a short passing game. Logan Thomas is out. Maybe that's what it is. Logan Thomas done for the season. Terry McLaurin done for the season. But guess what? Terry McLaurin's the biggest is about as boom bust as Van Jefferson. So, I mean, he is like a lights out receiver, but they don't use him. They don't try and run the offense through him like they do Cooper Kupp. Like he is talented, but they have him run the same routes and kind of the same route tree. And he's an outside receiver, but they don't move him inside. But he's not that big, so you should move him inside. Like it doesn't make sense to me all that much. So I was thinking about the difference between insides and outsides because I saw a show. Skip and Shannon were talking about who's the best wide receiver in the NFL. Is it Devontae Adams? Is it Cooper Kupp? Depends on how your offense is. Really.
I don't know. To me, who is it? Devontae Adams is one. Justin Jefferson's two. I just think if you have them, you challenge the defense much more than Cooper Kupp. I know Cooper Kupp is going to get I can see him always getting 10 catches for 100 yards, and I think that is productive for an offense. I don't know. I feel like Devontae Adams just demands more attention, and I think part of Kupp's success is McVay's creativity. So
yes and no.
One-on-one, I think Devontae Adams and Justin Jefferson would win more, though. They can do more. I can put them more places, and I can mess with the defense more than with Cooper Kupp.
Maybe. I would challenge that, but
you can't run. You can't put Cooper Kupp.
Is this our hot take hour? Are we doing this as the hot take at the end, or are we doing this as the hot take right now? Which one are we doing?
I think we're just going on and on about receivers. Maybe we should just do a whole separate thing. But let's keep going. I'm sorry, got way sidetracked. Not even related to the Philly, but also Washington can stop the run. So Philly runs the ball. Like I don't know. Still mind blown by that game. Let's move on though. Washington's gonna cover. 10 points is just way too many for a team as average as Washington. All right, next up we have Indy versus New England. You have New England +2. I have Indy -2. You go first.
This is in the Dome. So this is in Indy, meaning they're going to throw the ball. Mac Jones is going to throw the ball for 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 yard routes. And, this is more about Belichick. I I was on the Tom Brady train is better than Bill Belichick 100% last year because he went down and went to Tampa and won the Super Bowl in the first year, which is a huge, huge deal. And Belichick sucked with Cam Newton. But even his defense wasn't very good last year.
They had a lot of COVID sit-outs though. Down to Hightower. They had a lot of
COVID sit-outs, but I in terms of the greatness of Bill Belichick,
yeah, I expected more. Also,
they went out and got Judon, who, by the way, I think is a D2 guy. I think he went Division II, like Grambling State or something like that, or Saginaw Valley State. So, which is great. And on offense, Hunter Henry's been out, and Jonnu Smith has been okay. But they have a running game and a two-headed monster. Even if Damian Harris doesn't play, Ramondre Stevenson has done well. This is all about there's no real science behind Belichick except for the fact that he has a heck of a defense. He's got a shutdown corner again. Yeah, sure. Michael Pittman doesn't scare me all that much, but that's my point. My point is all of his resources go to Jonathan Taylor, all of them. And you and I have talked about how Belichick just somehow, some way just shuts things down. One person makes somebody else beat us. I am still not on the Carson Wentz train. Neither are you.
Not at all.
So I'm shocked that you're picking Indy -2.
Don't worry. I'll get you in a minute.
I think that there's going to be a very Kirk Cousins moment from Carson Wentz this week. And I think they're going to cover by a field goal. They may come down and it might be down by 1, and this may be a push. Or it may be tied. Or they may be going up, and then all of a sudden they're up 10, and then Jonathan Taylor breaks off 1, and then guess what? They're up 3, and then all of a sudden all Mac Jones has to do is play keep away, which he's usually pretty good at because they don't give him a whole lot of rain. So I think this just somehow becomes a close game. New England is great in close games. Now, having said that, we also talked about how stupid it would have looked last week had he lost to the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo by not letting Mac Jones throw. And that was a play away from him looking like a complete imbecile. So, I'm doubling down that was the genius part of Belichick rather than the stupidity and luck of Belichick. Now I digress.
All right. So my thought is everyone's talking about who's the biggest competition for the Patriots because I think they're pretty much locked to get the 1 seed. They have a pretty easy schedule to end the year. I don't remember who it is, but it's not difficult. But I think the Colts are the worst matchup for the Patriots because you said Bill Belichick's just going to take away Jonathan Taylor. However, I think the Colts' offensive line is good enough that they're going to bully the Patriots up front. And I think they're one of the only teams that can do that. So
Patriots end with Colts, Bills, Jags, Dolphins.
Yeah, exactly.
Not great, but not terrible.
Yeah, compared to the other teams, the Chiefs have the AFC West to play, the Ravens have the AFC North to play. They have the easiest closing schedule of anyone because they play the Jets and the Dolphins. But I stand by that the Colts are the team that can give the Patriots trouble because they can line up and they can match what the Patriots are going to do. The Colts aren't good against the pass, but they are good against the run. So they can force the ball into Mac Jones' hands. I don't think that's going to be successful. And I think they can push the Patriots' defense around. Maybe not every possession, but I think they can have 1 or 2 where Jonathan Taylor rips off big plays, or they set up, sneaky little play action, get some nice chunk plays. I just think the Patriots are they've won 7 straight right now, and it's going to sound hard to believe, but I'm not very impressed with any of their wins in that time. I think the Chargers might be the best win. The Bills was unimpressive because of the weather conditions, and Josh Allen still almost came back and won that game. The Browns was actually an impressive win where they just completely mollywopped the Browns on both sides of the ball. But they played the Titans, and they won 36-13. But going into the fourth quarter, that game was 16-13. The Titans had run for 270 yards, And then essentially Ryan Tannehill was forced to throw, and he just turned it over after turnover. And they had fumbles. They had 3 fumbles lost and 1 interception. So they just constantly coughed the ball up. I think a tough, hard-nosed team will look at what the Titans did, replicate that success, and they have the best running back in the league, so it'll be hard to take them down. I just think, given where the Titans were and the trouble they gave to the Patriots, even though it ended in a blowout, I know. I think for 3 quarters they stuck it to them good, though. And if they had any kind of weapons, Titans, I think, would have won that game. So I'm going with the Colts, mostly because I can't picture Mac Jones winning, 8 straight now? It's just hard for me to believe.
This is a momentum play. He's got momentum.
It's playing the odds.
I do not believe in Mac Jones. I continually said that, and I've actually bet against him multiple times. But I'm beginning to believe that Belichick and McDaniels probably even more so, McDaniels they just seem to scheme for close games to win by close margins.
Yeah.
Really, truly. Your blowouts that you had, a blowout for the Browns was it was just a nightmare. It was great on the defensive side, and then they had short fields the whole time. They didn't make any splash plays at all. They just ran it down their throats.
They did make splash plays. They ran for 15 yards and then 20 yards.
Yeah, okay. But that's my point. It wasn't quick strike offense. And then to your point, the Tennessee Titans, that was supposed to be a close game and was going to be a close game. I don't think that happens against the Colts. I think they keep it close and continue to keep it close. And then they don't just go, oh, let's open a can of worms. And then, that's where I say if it does go one way, Carson Wentz will make a mistake before Mac Jones makes a mistake. Because they'll have Carson want to win it. They will just say, Mac, do whatever we tell you to do. And he'll say, yes, sir, Mr. Belichick. Yes, sir, Mr. McDaniels.
So I can see essentially whoever's winning in the third quarter, I think, wins this game, right? Or maybe at halftime, where it's like, I trust neither quarterback. So whoever has the lead, the other quarterback won't come back and win. And I guess I'm just leaning with Indy to start off strong then. I don't know. I just, like I said, 8 straight for Mac Jones in a limited offense. I can't buy that. All right, let's go on.
Hey, go N'Keal Harry. He's sweet.
He is. His fumbled punt. That was the last thing he did. Oh, isn't that great? All right, next up we have Tennessee versus Pittsburgh. We're going different ways on this one again. You have the over. I have the under. It's at 43. You can go first with why you think it's the over.
Because Minnesota has a comparable defense to Tennessee. And if, let's say, the Steelers even remotely decide to play what they do best, which is run the ball, which if I remember right, the holy cow.
Vikings?
The Vikings have a comparable defense, right?
To the Titans, yeah.
Correct. So if the Titans can stop the run, and then guess what? They go down and they get a score. Yes, I understand they're very limited on offense. But if they can go up and get the score, guess what? Ben surprised me, albeit for only a half.
Not even.
If they let Ben run the 2-minute drill and just say, hey, Chase Claypool, don't do something very stupid, which he probably will, and just let him throw, they were formidable. This is totally a 100% hot take. Forget everything that happened up until now for Pittsburgh. I'm pretty sure TJ Watt is back, which is a big deal.
Huge deal.
Forget what they did up until then. Look at not even the full game. Look at the second half of what happens when they get down.
You can only look at the fourth quarter.
The weapons. Yeah, they have the weapons to score and score in bunches. And I think it happens because I still think Tomlin is going to be upset about how it happened and how he looked in the first half. 205 yards, whatever, to Dalvin Cook. I don't think that happens because, quite frankly, Tennessee doesn't have the horses to do that. And not a big fan of Tannehill. Never have been. So
you have
I
the
think
over.
this goes the over. Yeah, I think this goes the over.
All right. So my thought is Pittsburgh plays retaliatory offense in the sense that if you don't score, they don't score. It actually reminds me of the Vikings, where we're happy to run the ball 100 times as long as the game's a one-score game. And Tennessee has put up at most 20 points, and that was against Jacksonville. So I'm just not buying their offense. Like, if Tennessee doesn't put up points, Pittsburgh won't. And I think that just is what happens in this game. You're just going to get a super boring game where teams are putting back and forth, and then Pittsburgh will have one drive. And I said this previously, but we were I think it was we were comparing Baker Mayfield to people, and I said I think I'd take Baker Mayfield over Ben Roethlisberger, but if you have one drive, I'm taking Ben Roethlisberger over Baker Mayfield because I think at his height, he has the highest potential and the most knowledge on how to handle those situations. And I think that's what you saw last week against the Vikings, where it was he just put together. I mean, he didn't even have to put together that many good drives because Kirk Cousins handed them the ball with great field position. So I just think.
Yeah, I don't even think he had a pick last week.
Cousins, he had 2.
No, Roethlisberger.
Oh, no, I don't think so either. So
I don't think he had a pick.
But my point is, like, he doesn't do good unless it's really required. And in this game, I don't think it's going to be needed. I think this is going to be like a 17-14 kind of. No, that's too many touchdowns. Like a 17-9 kind of game. It's just going to be ugly.
Back. Julio's back. They got a weapon.
Yeah, he was back last week and he didn't do anything.
Well, it takes them a week, okay?
What did he do last week? He had 4 catches for 33 yards. Come on. Anthony Fursker and Jeff Swaim out caught him. Out received him. I don't know how to say it.
Swaimster. Yeah. Swamy Amy.
All right. So I guess we just agree again. You're not going to change my mind. Whatever.
Nope.
All right, moving on. We have Seattle versus the Rams. I think I write an article on this game. I don't know. I'll be writing it tonight during the Thursday night football game. But that's part of the reason I took a pick. I got Rams -4.5. You have under 45.5. I'm going first on this one. So, Rams -4.5 is pretty obvious. The Seahawks suck. I don't know if you watched last week, but they won because Rashad Penny had like 300 yards and 15 touchdowns. And I don't think Rashad Penny's actually that good. Houston sucks. Also, huge Tyler Lockett, COVID, he's gone. So, and DK Metcalf has not looked impressive at all. I'm not buying Seattle to do much on offense because, like, Lockett opens everything up. Now teams don't even have to worry about keeping a guy or two deep. You just gotta, stick on Metcalf, who, for whatever reason, I mean, he's been banged up. I don't know if he even practiced today. He didn't practice yesterday. So I don't know where this offense is going to come from for Seattle. Aaron Donald had maybe his best game of the year last week. He completely wrecked the Cardinals. So I'm liking what they see there. Jalen Ramsey should be back, maybe, ? Upside down, ? But as long as Matt Stafford doesn't go full Carson Wentz and throw pick sixes in his end zones and give the ball up on his goal line, I think the Rams will be okay. He had his best game of the year last week, so I'm expecting a huge regression because he's Matt Stafford. But this is another one that I could see, like the Packers versus Seahawks. Packers won 17-0. They looked completely underwhelming, but the Seahawks are just not good right now.
We're saying the same thing in a different way. You do understand that, right?
No, because you haven't said anything. I spoke first this time.
Okay, but we're going to say the same things, which is the Seahawks got 33 on the Texans last week, and Penny ran all over them. Okay, well, it's the Houston Texans. Take that out. They got 30 from the 49ers. But guess what? 49ers gave up a crazy Travis Homer fake punt touchdown. So that really only scored 23. And even then, it was an underwhelming 23. And on top of that, then you got, before that, Washington, 17-15. That's a barn burner. Seahawks before that against the Cardinals, 13. Before that, 0. I'm not buying that they're back. And I understand that Russell Wilson's back. Fine. Okay. But you got DK Metcalf, who hasn't done very well. You've got Tyler Lockett out. You signed Adrian Peterson as a splash move. I mean, I don't see this at all. And I see that of the people that are out, you hope Jalen Ramsey comes back. I mean, none of these guys are moving off COVID. Their COVID list just keeps getting longer. That being said, they smacked the Cardinals, a much better team with all of this stuff going on. So as long as you have Aaron Donald, then I think you crush them. As long as you have Aaron Donald and all of a sudden Leonard Floyd, which is hanged out in Chicago, and I don't know why he's good now, but
because he has Aaron Donald to take 5 defenders, and he has Von Miller to take the last one remaining, so he gets a free rush every play.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And then if Jalen Ramsey is back, Sonny Michel runs well. Darrell Henderson, I need him back because he's on my fantasy team. I'm in the playoffs, so I'm hoping he comes back. But Sony's run well, so I have a feeling he's probably not even going to get all the bulk of the touches anymore, which sucks. I'm not a believer in Russell Wilson back yet. I think if he's leaking out where he's going to go, which he is, I think that he's not fully mentally there. So
I saw someone tweet something. It was, given that the Seahawks win every game, like what their playoff odds are, and it really depends on New Orleans versus Tampa Bay and Minnesota versus Chicago, but it's like, given that they win every game, best case scenario, they have like a 50-50 shot. And that's like given all the other outcomes falling into place. So I'm with you. Seahawks are just mentally checked out. Congratulations. You whacked the Texans with Davis Mills. Who cares?
That's what I'm saying. This is not real. And you got 7 points from a special teams the week before. Come on.
Yeah, I completely agree. And Jimmy Garoppolo was handing them the ball in bad territory.
Yeah.
Just another one. Idiots. All right, let's go on to the next game. New Orleans versus Tampa Bay. You're taking New Orleans plus 11. I wanted to take this one, but then I feel like we were talking about too many of the same games. So I'm going to let you have this one all to yourself. I think I know exactly what you're going to say. You're going to say, last time I took Tampa Bay and I was wrong.
Shut up. Partially. But somehow, some way, Sean Payton knows how to play Tom Brady.
3-0 regular season.
You don't know how it is. I don't know how it works, but he gets Alvin Kamara back. He's got Taysom Hill running and pulling and not throwing, but running. He gets both of his tackles back, which are all pro-level guys. They still have a good defense. Cross your fingers, but some of the COVID's already gone through them with a couple of their guys out. Ingram was out. He's back. 11 is huge. I am just shocked at that spread, knowing the Sean Payton history. I cannot believe that now. I was sitting there going, well, they just – by the way, the Bucs almost and probably should have lost that game last week to the Bills.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
They somehow – there's not an overreaction. There's some sort of they got a boost because they beat the Bills. Bills are 7-6 and reeling. So I don't know how they got a boost and look better because they beat the Bills.
When you go up 24-3, and I think it was in the first half, and you're held scoreless until overtime, and then you get a broken play touchdown. Come on.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe Psycho Tom goes off and has a Psycho Tom game. I said that last time too. I think I might have literally said Psycho Tom isn't going to lose to Sean Payton, and then whoop. I don't think that they lose. I think the Bucs somehow find a way to break this streak. By 11? By more than 11? No. Not with New Orleans getting healthy.
Yeah, I just find it so hard to bet on Taysom Hill. I think I did last week, and man, that was way too much sweat for a Saints versus Jets game. But even then, what, he busts out like a 60-yard touchdown because he's Taysom Hill and he pads his fantasy stats. It drives me nuts. But I wanted to take this one so bad, and I think it's just one of those things where the Saints know how to play Tampa Bay. Like, Marshawn Lattimore knows how to shut down Mike Evans. There's so many guys Marshawn Lattimore can't take away, but when it comes to Mike Evans, it just completely deleted.
Lenny Fournette, questionable.
That is huge. But also, New Orleans has a phenomenal run defense, so like his impact will typically be limited anyway. I don't know, man. Ugh. So that's why I let you keep this one, and I backed off. All right, let's go on to the next game and talk Cincinnati versus Denver. This is another game I have an article on, maybe. I'm not sure. But I'm taking.
Did I take Cincinnati last week? I think I did, and I lost.
We both took Cincinnati, and that's when I sent you the text. I said, Cincinnati needs to score a touchdown. Otherwise, Kyle Shanahan's saying we're winning the game, and we're going to score a touchdown. And Zach Taylor had 2 or 3 great plays from his receivers. Like, I think T. Higgins had a chunk play. Tyler Boyd had a chunk play. They get right to the 30, and then he's like, all right, run, what's it called? Drop off, or check down. There it is. And settle for the field goal, and then just hand the game to San Fran. Don't understand it, but same thing happened in the Buffalo game. Buffalo down, dominates, gets in overtime, gets the ball, hesitates, calls conservative offense, gives the ball to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay scores a touchdown. Drives me nuts. It's like, if you're coming back, I think you should go for 2 every time. Let's say, because you have momentum and you're down by 1 point. Instead of going to overtime, you let it go to a coin flip to determine if you get the ball. And even if, like, if you don't get the ball, they score a touchdown, game over. Happens all the time. So I'd say, give me my offense, which is hot. I need 2 yards to win the game. If I don't, then we lose. But I think that's just such a better situation than let's leave it to overtime. Just me, but also it saves me a lot of time watching games. Anyways, back to this particular matchup. I think Cincinnati. I don't think Denver is as good as what they show. I just can't buy them, and I think Cincinnati actually looked. When they have to throw, they look good. When Joe Burrow's wheeling and dealing to Boyd, Higgins, and Chase. Chase had a touchdown last week that got reversed. Like, he caught it and then dropped it, and that's like the 3rd week in 4 weeks in a row where he's just blowing it a little bit. So
he's PFF showed like he has the most yards lost by drops this year. Now it's because of his ADOT is so high because he just goes so deep. I get that.
He wins deep though. Like
he also drops touchdowns, deep ones too, and we're there. It's crazy. The drops we talked about it in the first 6 weeks. I was like, hey, I was kind of getting scared. I'm afraid that he's making a really stupid excuse, can't see the ball, blah, 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 blah. Then he goes out, busts the top off. If you look at it in a vacuum after like week 8, a man has struggled and has drops.
Yeah.
So, was that going to happen? Was that bound to happen? Yeah. Now, do they have T. Higgins? T. Higgins has taken off. T. Higgins, I think, is like fantasy player. Like, he has like over the last 4 games, fantasy points of like 20 plus, and he has over 100 yards every game, and he's got like at least 5 catches in his last 5.
Couple touchdowns.
He's for real. But there's nothing that I just hate. I can't figure out the Bengals. I don't think anybody can. I don't know if there's any rhyme or reason for why they lose games or why they play well. I'm sure there's some analytics out there that says, here's the games that they've won. This is what they did well. This is what the coaches called. This is what the defense did. This is what they did. What is it? I don't know. Phil, like, we need somebody to tell us, or we need to hire a data analyst and just say, tell us what's going on.
Do you want to know? It's Jamar Chase. Like, if you watch, like, in the games when he was going off, they looked phenomenal. In the games he chokes, like, they just look awful on offense. The difference for them is literally, like you said, he's dropping touchdowns. He's not dropping, 10-yard completions for a first down and, whatever. It's like, no, he's dropping 40-yard touchdowns where he creates separation. The ball hits him in the hands. So I think he starts to get it back, but more importantly, I don't trust Denver's offense. They run the ball well, and Cincinnati is good against the run. So I think they force the ball into Teddy Bridgewater's hands, and that ends up backfiring. So this is more so Cincinnati. If they get behind, I think it's a better position for them, which is one thing I like. But also, I'm just not. This is me being low on Denver. I was high on them middle of the year, I think, and now I'm back to just bottoming out.
I hate Denver. I can't wait till they get a new quarterback. What do you mean? Teddy Bridgewater is
he was number 2 in EPA.
Fantastic backup. Yeah. Is a fantastic backup. He is a guy that will be in the league for another 8 years because he can win games as a backup.
Let me. I'll let you get started on the next game while I look up Teddy Bridgewater's PFF grade, just because I'm just curious now. So the next two, if you guys want to hit snooze or skip on the podcast, it's Dallas versus the Giants and the Jets versus Miami. Connor's taking the under in both, so they're just boring games. I'm guessing most of his logic here is that it's just going to be a depressing thing to watch. So I'll let him take over.
So I'll start with the Dallas versus the Giants. If you just what a depression fest. Here's the deal. I think this is a get-right game for Dallas. Yes, we can say what we want about their defense last week. Offense is still questionable. They have the most 3-and-outs in the NFL this year. The most 3-and-outs. So I don't think that happens versus the Giants. But if you just look at the Giants' last 4 or 5 games, 6 games in a vacuum. Last week, the Giants were getting crushed by the Chargers, and then they put up 21 points. 2 garbage time touchdowns. It wasn't even really that close. So if you take one of those away, they scored 14. 2 weeks ago against the Dolphins, the Giants scored 9. Before that, they somehow pulled off a win versus the Eagles. They scored 13. Giants lost to the Bucks. They scored 10. So if you pull that out, those are 4 straight games with under. If you pull out the touchdown from last week, that's 4 straight games with 14 or less points. And by the way, the week before that, they had 23 max. So Dallas, I think, has a get-right game. Their defense stays on tilt. And I still think that they end up – this is the classic thing that we've talked about that I'm going back to, which is good defense, bad offense. Mike Glennon sucks. Get him out of there. What is he doing? Come on. Get out of here. I think if they did that to Heineke, they're going to crush Glennon. So I'm all about the under for this one. I don't think the Giants score.
So only thing I have to add is the Dallas pass rush might be one of the best in the NFL now. And it's 100% because Micah Parsons brings them from respectable to phenomenal. He is maybe one of the best pass rushers in the NFL as a rookie already. And now they have DeMarcus Lawrence and Randy Gregory back. That defensive line, what is it? They forced a pick on a screen. That turned out to a huge play. And then they had the fumble against Taylor Heineke. And then they just made his life miserable. He had no time to throw. And he went full Fitzmagic, where he's just people are coming, and I'm chucking it. He should have had 4 or 5 more interceptions because the ball was either tipped or it was just a bad throw, and it was just ugly. So I'm with you. I think the football team, I hate saying that, Washington's offense is better than the Giants. It doesn't have better players, but I think it operates at a higher caliber. But now Dallas just gets to feast on a worse offense.
I'm loading the box, and I'm talking 8. I'm putting 8 in the box. You think Kenny Galladay, who is somehow hurt all the time, can't get healthy, biggest waste of
Connor.
Definitely a candidate for bounce back. He's a bounce back guy.
I want to let you know that 80% of what you just said, didn't hear it. It's dude, it's Kenny Galladay. You said Kenny Galladay, and then on TV there was just a large string of curse words. And you just see your mouth moving.
I did not cuss out Kenny Galladay, but I did say Kenny Galladay this year sucks. Terrible quarterback, biggest waste of $40-50 million you could find. However, I think he's going to be a heck of a bounce back candidate next year because he's going to be out to prove it. He got paid. He'll have a new quarterback. That being said, that's it this year. Sterling Shepard, who knows if he's coming back? Darius Slayton, who knows?
Kadarius Toney, R.I.P.
Kadarius Toney. Saw a stat this week. We haven't even talked about Urban Meyer, but the fact that I saw Urban Meyer came out before the draft and said, no, after the draft and said, I wish we would have gotten Kadarius Toney over Travis Etienne or something like that. Oh, that's a good idea. Say it after the draft, you idiot. Anyways, that's a whole different story. We could spend a whole hour talking about that. But
we could spend a whole hour talking about everything Urban Meyer.
I just don't. Yeah, we spend a lot of time on that. Good riddance. Goodbye. Enjoy. Nobody should ever see your face again. You don't deserve another college job. Be done. Just go away. Yeah, that's the under, man. And Saquon is back, but they're going to load the box. Even if they don't even have to load the box. Their offensive line is bad. Like, it's just not good. Not good. Watch. I say that, and then all of a sudden they're going to blow up, and they're Mike Lennon, yeah, franchise.
I want Russell Wilson in New York so bad,
yeah.
But I also want to see Russell Wilson behind a functioning offensive line. So it's not fair to him. Realistically, he should go to Cleveland to be most successful. But when your wife's a famous singer, you don't go to Cleveland. So.
You don't go to Cleveland, even though Cleveland rocks, and you have the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Come on, Phil.
Yeah, but let's be honest. Famous people don't go to Cleveland. Like,
how many famous people end up in Seattle, Phil?
Jeff Bezos.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Semi-famous.
All right, let's let you go on about Jets versus Miami now. It's for anyone that's stuck for Dallas, New York Giants. This is going to be the exact same speech.
Easy. Done. This is done. This is very easy. Look at the last game. 24-17. That was the last game between the Jets and the Dolphins, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who was the quarterback for the Jets that game?
I don't know.
It wasn't Zach Wilson. They got 17 points. That's all you need to know. They will have less than 17 points this time. Book it right now. Book it right now. Yeah, and we're going to come back next week and we're going to be like, yep, Connor, you're right. Or Zach Wilson's going to go off and he's going to be like, and I'm going to say, look, I'll eat my words. I have not been on the Zach Wilson train at all. I think he is going to be a bust. I don't think this year is not a facade. I think he is legitimately not good. And I think it's very easy. I'm not saying anything crazy here. Mike White had 400 yards in passing and like 6 touchdowns in his first start with the Jets, pulled up from the practice squad. Zach Wilson had all the first team reps for like ever since he was drafted. Come on. I don't think he's good. Miami's defense is going to light him up, blitz him all day. They got nobody on offense. Book the under here. This could potentially be a game where it could be a lesser version of Dallas versus
Giants.
Dallas versus exactly. I'm telling you, book it.
Zach Wilson's completion percentage last week against the Saints was 45%. He was 19 for 42 for 202 yards.
Enjoy.
It's going to be worse this week because I think Miami is better in man coverage on the outside, and they absolutely love to send everyone. So
send them. Zach Wilson can't read a blitz. Send them.
Don't need to read the blitz. You know they're all coming.
Just put them all up at the line. Cover 0. Send them up.
Completely tell them what's going on. All right. Let's go on. Best of the rest games. I have these marked. We don't have to spend too much time on them. Green Bay versus Baltimore. I think Lamar's back. This is not Sunday Night Football.
He didn't practice this week. He still hasn't practiced yet. Yeah,
so if he's not there, this game is no longer interesting. I just think it's the line's Baltimore plus 5.5. That feels like a lot, but also they suck.
They're not good. They're probably the worst what are they, 9-5, 9-4 team I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Every game I feel like they're going to lose, every one. And they almost beat the Browns last week after Lamar went out. That's something that you didn't bring up, mister.
All right. I didn't bring up my record last week. Everyone, it was 2-5 because I added the Cardinals late. But I want to let you know, I was set to be 5-1 until the Browns choked and the Bengals choked. And it just broke my heart. Like, I was watching those guys.
I had Baltimore cover, and after Lamar got hurt, I was like, I texted Phil and said, well, you won. And then they covered.
And not only did they cover, but they hit the over, too, at the same time. Oh, gosh. That just bad beats. Like, I went from, hell yeah, making money this week, to, well, that sucks. Back to ramen noodles. All right, next game. Raiders versus Cleveland. Only reason I'm mentioning this is because the Browns are what? They're borderline, like...
Not able to play?
Yeah, they have Nick Mullins starting at quarterback now because Case Keenum was just put on the COVID list a few hours ago.
However, jury's still out. They just relaxed the COVID restrictions, just came out with it. You only need one PCR test negative and a rapid test negative. You do not need two separated from 48 hours and a rapid test. You only need one now. They just came out with it today because they're trying to get people back on the field. Dead serious. There's no other reason why they would do it. There's no way.
I would say there's too many people out right now. So we'll see how big of impact that has.
And you have to be asymptomatic.
Yeah.
So they're trying to make it, which is probably about right. Like if you're asymptomatic, it's something that's completely different. But
so
I'm making it easier.
I spoke to my brother who's a doctor about it, and he is all like he would say if you are asymptomatic and vaccinated, it's not a true professional opinion, but he's just like I could understand why they would be like, yeah, go ahead, you could be able to go ahead and play because you're both vaccinated and asymptomatic, and it's like your risk of spreading it is to people that are currently listed as unvaccinated, which of course is a bad thing. But he said like it would be a push to get everyone vaccinated just to make it safer for like these people that are constantly traveling and moving. But I was all on board with like he's like right now the current strain of Omicron, getting vaccinated essentially helps you like by miles. It keeps you asymptomatic or maybe with mild symptoms compared to what you were previously facing. Anyways. Yeah. Like the line in this game, we talked about it earlier when for Nate's question. The line's 1.5 and the total's 38.5.
Which, by the way, it's moved crazy.
Yeah, just it was like an 8-point swing against Cleveland once essentially their team was ruled out. I'm still surprised it's this close, but I want to take Cleveland. I don't know what it is, but the Raiders I don't respect them.
Dude, surprisingly, by the way, if you picked up in fantasy, Nate, I hope you're listening. If you somehow drafted in the 12th and 13th round Hunter Renfrow and Cordero Patterson, and let's say you fell into Jonathan Taylor and Cooper Kupp, you will win. Does not matter what anything else happens the rest of the time. Because those are guys that were almost borderline undrafted.
Hunter Renfrow was undrafted in a 12-team league with me.
Guarantee you that they went undrafted and somebody in the United States, plenty of people in the United States, somehow have both of those guys.
Yeah. I mean,
Hunter Renfrow has been a wide receiver 1 for the last 5 weeks in a row.
Just absurd. He's so good. You want to talk about great wide receivers right there, just like Cooper Kupp. A little shorter.
Right.
All right, last game I have marked is Minnesota versus Chicago. The only reason I have this marked is because it's a 5.5-point spread. And Minnesota doesn't play games that are more than a 7-point game. So I'm like, hey, Chicago actually probably is pretty likely to cover this based on the fact that they're playing Minnesota and the spread's so big.
I think they cover this, by the way. I'm not sure because they just lost. I mean, they don't throw to them anyways, but they lost. They just had 6 players go on COVID list. The Bears did, so including Allen Robinson. So
They don't throw to him anyway. It doesn't matter.
Who cares?
Yeah.
So, it's not a very interesting game to me.
It's Monday Night Football, and it matters a lot to me. I need Dalvin Cook to keep me out of my loser bowl.
Justin Fields is getting a whole lot of FaceTime on primetime games to show the world that Matt Nagy sucks. I mean, he's getting all kinds of opportunities to show that not him, Matt Nagy. Nagy is awful.
And he had, oh my gosh, his Steelers game was his best game of the year too. Last week he threw for like 250, but it was a pathetic 250 in my opinion because that was Jakeem Grant busting out 80-yard catches all by himself. But what Justin Fields did against the Steelers on Monday night, I thought they deserved to win that game. That was the questionable, unnecessary taunting or unnecessary unsportsmanlike conduct. So I don't know. I'm just excited to see Justin Fields again on Monday night. And like I said, I think Minnesota will play not to lose again. And drives me crazy. Brought it up earlier. I'll always bring it up. Play to win. Don't play not to lose. And accept the fact that when you play to win, you're going to lose some games because of it. But I feel like it hurts, but it's, in my opinion, and I think the analytics support it, that's just a better strategy than to say, we'll wait for the other team to make a mistake and hope that we don't. It's just...
Yeah, that being said, would I have went 4-2 a couple of weeks ago if I was John Harbaugh? I'm going to go ahead and say no. No, sir. I would not have done that. I don't care what the analytics say. I would not have done that. I would have taken my team into overtime.
So in that one, I agree because of how good... So you having the league's best kicker is a huge advantage in overtime, right? Because then you can bleed the clock, settle for a long field goal, and it's no problem. And I really think that was one where I thought they had momentum and would win. And like the Bengals versus San Fran, I just knew in overtime, the second the 49ers, I didn't care they hadn't scored the whole half. I'm like, the second they get the ball, Shanahan is going to know exactly how to hit them. And then he gave the ball to George Kittle, and that's all you needed to do. George Kittle, absolute freak monster. Same thing with Tampa Bay and the Bills. Like, I think you just have to know your opponent and just... Like, I trust the Steelers to shoot themselves in the foot with Ben Roethlisberger. When you're playing Tom Brady, I'm like, I can't give him the ball in overtime. By the way, that's all the games. This is something we can talk about real quick. Playing with 4 downs is such a huge advantage than when you have like a late game drive, which I think teams should do more in overtime if they get the ball first. I think you just play as if you're the team that just is about to lose. I don't know what your opinion is as a former player, but I'm all for the play absolutely to win the game. You don't want to tie it all, and trust your offense. And if you call for 4 plays, you need 2.5 yards of play, which is so much easier and allows you so much more options on maybe 3rd and 5, 3rd and short, to say, okay, I'm going to take a deep shot here. They're not going to expect it because they think I'm going to punt on 4th down. And then if I miss that, I have my 4th down play all drawn up. Cardinals.
I'm sure Staley will probably do something like that.
Yeah.
That dude's nuts.
Love him for it.
I mean, I agree. I think he'll end up doing that. My opinion is calculated risk, not all out. I think you have a calculation behind
general
it.
rules don't always apply, all right? It's like I'm not going to push the envelope if I'm playing the Steelers defense and the Steelers offense. In that case, I'm going to be like, all right, I know they're going to screw up. It's what they do.
Yeah. I'm not like you asked me something. We had a debate about, it was in a college game, going for 2 or going for something like that or something along. It might be it was a Ohio State game or something.
You're down by 2 touchdowns. You score a touchdown. Should you go for 2 then or on your next touchdown?
Yeah, that's right. It was down 16. No, it was down 15. It's down 15. And you had to get a 2 at some point.
Yes.
At some point. And I don't know if it necessarily I think we came away just kind of like, depends on who your coach is.
Yeah.
Because You got John Harbaugh. The analytics say I think their defense was playing pretty well at that point. And you're saying, hey, look, it's a one-score game. I don't have to put pressure on my defense. I don't have to do anything crazy to try and give up or accidentally give up a big play by blitzing to try and get the ball back with 4 minutes left because I know I got to get one more score. You can stay inside of your zone, inside of what you do if you don't get it or if you have 7 because you're still one touchdown away with a 2-point conversion. If you miss, you're 2 scores away. So the idea being, all right, if I go for broke and I get it, fantastic. If I don't, I'm still out 2 scores. I got to have my defense make 2 stops. Now I have to pick up the clock and I got to pick up the pace and I got to take risks, big ones. And that might fire back. They work great. I fire back. So I think it's more or less you don't have to change your coaching style if you go for 2 later rather than earlier.
Okay, so I hadn't considered it from that perspective. My thought is more of just a pure game theory economics kind of view. It is, I know I need to win the game in this amount of time. I know I need a 2-point conversion at some point. Would I and this is a big assumption. It doesn't matter the time in the game. I will run the same 2-point conversion play, regardless of what happens. So, if that's the situation, then my thought is I want to run it as soon as possible, because then I have the most amount of time in order to recover if I don't get the 2-point conversion. Does that make sense? So it's pretty much, I want to know the result of the 2-point conversion as soon as possible. And it assumes that the result won't change, which is a big assumption. And I hadn't considered your point of, all right, now I'm going to do things that I don't necessarily know what I'm doing as a coach.
You take more risks. And the reality is every coach should have, well, and at least the way that we had it in college, which was you don't just have a list of random plays. You section them off on your ginormous score sheet or play card. And you have situational section. You have, 1st and 5, 2nd and 5, 3rd and long, 3rd and 15 plus. Like, you section them off. You should have 4, 5 2-point conversion plays that you are confident that you will go with. And so I don't think that there's a one size fits all, because what happens if you're Dallas and they seem to run the ball on their 2-point conversions a lot and just try and pound it with Zeke? If I'm coming up cover 0, I'm checking out. You can't just say, hey, I'm running this one play one time no matter what. You got to have 4 or 5 probably plays that you need to be able to run confidently.
Well, so my point is, you're not going to like whatever plays you would call, you're not going to change. Is the whole idea? Like you said, you have your 4 or 5, but you're not going to break away from those or stray away. But like I said, I didn't really consider the ramifications of, like, your players aren't used to it, your coaches aren't used to it, and you're going to be putting people in an awkward situation and asking them to do
something. Some are. Miami, they blitz all the time. Baltimore, they blitz all the time. Tampa, they blitz all the time. Yeah, okay. Different. You got other people, they don't do that very much.
It's Cleveland. Like, you
Cleveland,
can't.
Never.
Cleveland's a good example, actually. If you're down by 15, you can't ask them to do anything they're not comfortable with. Every time they try to, it looks so bad. So it does depend. You got the two views of it, though. But
by the way, the game started and the Chargers went for it, it looks like, and didn't get it on 4th down, and now the Kansas City Chiefs. So that over that I was telling you about,
looking pretty good. All right, now that the game's going, let's run through everything. So real quick, I'm going to be taking Indy -2, Washington football team +10, Cincy +2.5, Rams -4.5, and the under in Tennessee versus Pittsburgh. Connor has New England +2, Washington +10, The over tonight at 53, so if you're listening, you'll already know the result. Under 44.5 for Dallas. Over 43 for Tennessee. Under 41 for the Jets. And then Saints plus 11 and Rams under 45.5. Thanks so much for listening. Please like, subscribe, blah, 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 blah. Have a great night, and let's hopefully make some money.